The watch, I must say, is really, really good. For $300, watches like this do rather make a mockery of the $9 grand Rolex are charging for the sub. Proper, stamped and dated 2-year warranty, little screwdriver for the screw links, and enough spare links, I reckon, for an 8-inch plus wrist. I got the one with the high polished mid links. Everything they're selling from now on has got an all brushed bracelet, which is how it should be, because that's what the Rolex Submariner has. If you're going to do a Rolex Submariner clomage, you want to get it as close as possible to the original subject, and they really have. This is definitely the best one I've seen so far. I've reviewed Steinhardt's, I've reviewed Squale's. This is better than both of those. I feel I'm in a reasonable position to make that call. It is not the most interesting watch in the world. They do black, they do green, they do blue, they do a carbon dial one. It's not supposed to be the most interesting watch in the world. It is supposed to be as close as it can get to the Rolex Submariner without having the brand name on the dial and without having the $9,000 price tag. So that means you can therefore almost recite this set of dimensions along with me. Just over 40 millimeters in diameter. I measure it at 40.4. 13.3mm thick, 47 lug to lug, 20mm lug width, so it does have the old style 20mm lugs, tapering down to 15.5, back up to 18.5 at the clasp, sized up for me, 7-inch wrist. It weighs in at exactly 150 grams. So if you're going to do it properly, and they've done it properly. 316L stainless steel throughout, case, crown, bezel and bracelet. The bezel action is really, really good, and it's got that high-pitched click, very much like the Rolex Submariner. 120 click, unidirectional, no backplay, no bounce. Everything, when I get it lined up, does indeed line up very nicely. The case is finished exactly how you'd expect it to be, i.e. high polish on the side and brushing on the upper lugs. We've got crown guards, Cronos branded screw down crown with their stylized hourglass logo. Very nice finishing on the bezel, no sharp edges there, it's nice and smooth to the touch. It's a high quality ceramic insert and it's been recessed nicely, and you can see a piece of flat sapphire crystal just with a little beveled edge there and a correctly placed cyclops. The bracelet I've got on mine is much more akin to the GMT Master 2 because of those high polished mid links, so I'm glad they've moved to all brushed, because the Rolex Submariner doesn't have the high polished mid links. They scuff and they scratch too readily, in my opinion anyway. The outer edges, if that's anything to go by, it is a nice smooth brush. They're solid oyster style 3-piece links and screw links, as you can see. Now the clasp definitely looks like it belongs to the Rolex family, but they haven't gone for the Easy Link system. They haven't done a glide lock. There's no on the fly adjustment. You do get those 3 recesses there, so effectively that is 3 levels of micro adjust. You should still get a decent fit, even though there are no half links. It's just full links and those 3 holes to adjust. The case back is screw-on and sterile, just like a Rolex Submariner. Now you do need a special tool for these, for Rolex and for Tudor. I mean, you can buy them relatively economically on eBay. I bought a set not so long ago for myself for this style of watch. Not as convenient as a 2-pronger or a 3-pronger though, but very much in keeping with the watch that they are mimicking. Same goes for the dial. It's not particularly interesting, but then again, it's not supposed to be. Applied indexes in the classic pattern, triangle at 12, batons at 6 and 9, circles everywhere else, and a printed minute track. Cronos logo and done, and there is a bag of lume on the hands, the indexes and the lume pip. I mean, seriously, a bag of lume. I'm guessing it's BGW9 or certainly something that mimics that bright blue look, which in turn mimics the chroma light that Rolex use on their watches. Right to the end of my 20-minute test period, this thing is still very, very legible. That is a good result from the lume, the sign of a well-made watch. Now this watch is available with a choice of movements. You can get it with a PT5000, which is a Chinese-made clone of the ETA 2824, or the Sellita 200, which is a Swiss-made clone of the ETA 2824 and far more of a known quantity. I would be paying the extra 100 for the Sellita. This one's running okay, plus 11 seconds a day. You'd be hoping for a couple of seconds sharper than that, but not too bad, and you get that high beat 28,800 vibrations per hour, the smooth sweep of a second hand, again just like the Rolex Submariner. And it wears just like a Rolex Submariner, specifically the Submariner with the super case with lugs that are slightly too wide for their own good, but hey, it hasn't stopped the sub selling in massive numbers over the last decade. Legibility is excellent, especially if you go for the black one as opposed to the blue and green. Those white hands and indices really do pop off that dial nicely. Now outside, Cronos claim there is a bit of anti-reflective coating on the underside of that sapphire crystal, which is something you don't actually get with a Rolex. All that money, and they don't even bother putting AR on their sports models. On wrist, you can see it wears just like you'd expect it to. Those slightly wide lugs, I guess some people are into that look or have got used to that look over the last decade. Some people prefer the slimmer lugs of the older 5-digit